The government want to take my machete off me. They want to make this an illegal weapon, a prohibited weapon. Hey, you! You're watching Robbie Fishing. A bit of a tidy up here. That looks a bit more manageable. Now, I brought a special tool with me today that I knew I'd use. And that's the machete. Just want to trim some of these grasses from around the edges here so I can get my line in nice and clearly. Nice and easy. These ones down here are the ones that are the problem, and I can't reach them. Now, if you've been watching my videos for quite a while, you'll know that I use my machete quite often. I use it to cut grass, I use it to cut through blackberries, to hack down kabungi weed. This is featured in a lot of my videos, and now the Victorian government wants to ban it. Now, I've got quite a bit to unpack here, but first of all, let me talk about why the government wants to ban machetes. First of all, there's a crime problem. There's a youth crime problem in Melbourne. Young people are attacking each other with machetes. They're doing home invasions. They're breaking into people's houses and stealing stuff, and they're taking machetes so that when the homeowner confronts them, they can get threatening or they can attack them and they can get away with their loot. So as a result, the government wants to ban machetes, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, because it's not the machetes that start breaking and entering. It's not the machetes that are attacking each other. It's the people holding the machetes that are attacking each other. So the government has come out and said, we're going to ban machetes. Now, at this stage, all we know is that the government are banning machetes. The government have made a press release. There's been a lot of publicity. There's been a lot of stuff in the media. At first, it was going to be by September, but I think now they're saying sometime in September and in November. So for now, this is fine. I've ridden over here on my motorbike with this on my bag, on my back in a bag, and that's perfectly fine. But once the machete ban comes into effect, I could get myself into trouble for that. Now, I do believe that there are going to be exemptions. There's going to be exemptions for farmers or hunters or fishermen or people that use them in the bush. I'm not sure whether the exemptions are going to be like an application or have to apply for an exemption or some kind of permit system. I'm not really sure how it's going to work. But the reason I think it's ridiculous is because, firstly of all, the problem should be nipped in the bud. Rather than blaming the machetes, look at the problem. Why is there a youth crime crisis? Maybe these kids need some good old-fashioned discipline. Bring back the good old-fashioned kick in the bum that I got when I was a kid, you know? The kids need discipline. They need consequences for their actions. There's no consequences these days. These young people, they attack each other with machetes. There was one on the news a while back. He stole a car while someone's baby was still in it, and he got chased by the police, and luckily the baby survived and it was all good. He went in front of the magistrate, and then he got sent out on bail. He was on bail. And then about a week later, he went and committed another crime. You know, there's a review of the bail laws happening, I think, but that's not enough. Something needs to be done to address the youth crime crisis. Just taking machetes off them isn't going to work. Ever since David killed Goliath with rocks back in the biblical era, people have been attacking each other with weapons. Years ago, after the Martin Bryant Port Arthur massacre in Tasmania in 1994, I think it was, or 95, the government clamped down on gun laws. There's not many guns in society now, and those that have got them registered and locked in safes. But guess what? The bad guys are still shooting each other. The gangsters have still got their hands on guns, and they're still shooting at each other, and they're still going to get their hands on machetes. With guns, it's a national ban. There's national laws around guns. With machetes, it's just Victoria. So if somebody from Melbourne wants a machete, all they've got to do is go interstate to a state that still sells machetes, and they'll get one. What I think it is, it's the government saying, look, we're doing something about it. We're doing something about it. We're banning machetes. And they put that all over their banners and all over the media, and it looks like they're taking action, and it looks like they're listening to the people. But when you break it down to the fact that other states can still sell them, it's just a Band-Aid fix. And if someone hits you with a machete, you're going to need more than a Band-Aid. And this problem needs more than a Band-Aid. I think it's time we brought back discipline for these younger people. National service if it's needed. Some kind of boot camp. I'm sick of here in Australia, our government's had this real kiddie glove approach. They put the kiddie gloves on and they treat these people like kids. I know just recently the Premier of Queensland came out and said from now on, adult crime, adult time. In other words, we're going to take the kiddie gloves off and we're going to punish young offenders. That's what needs to happen in Victoria. Here in Australia, Victoria is known as the nanny state because we've got the harshest rules on everything. We have the harshest rules on lockdowns. We have everything is regulated. In Victoria, if you want to fish an irrigation channel, usually there's fences around it and signs that say, warning strong current, warning no entry, warning limbs may fall. You go to New South Wales, the next state up, you just drive up to the bank of you drive up to the bank of the irrigation channel and you throw a line in and you fish. But here in Victoria, they've got to have copious amounts of warning systems and then a fence to say and a no access sign. As the Victoria is the nanny state, and banning machetes is just ridiculous. Now, the current knife laws, as I believe, the current laws around carrying a knife are, if you've got to be able to justify why you've got it. So if the police come up to me and I'm out here in the bush, I'm filming a yabbying video, I'm cutting up meat and stuff for bait, naturally I'm going to need a knife. If I'm fishing, I'm going to need a knife. If I'm walking around the main street of Wangaratta, I shouldn't need a knife, so I'm probably going to have to, I'm probably going to get in trouble for that. And I believe that I have a feeling the machete laws could be the same. In other words, if you're a fisherman out the bush with a machete, you should be pretty right. If a police pulls you up and you're out the bush and you're doing something and you need a machete, you should be right. But if you're walking down the main street of Melbourne, then you're going to get into trouble. So what that makes me think is a machete is just a knife. It's just a big one with a long handle. So therefore, it should already fall under the knife crime, then under the knife laws. So if that's what happens, then the government's actually done absolutely nothing except created a headline to look like they're doing something about it. It's all up in the air. All I know is that it's all over the media that the government is banning machetes and we're the first state to ban machetes and blah, blah, blah. But then they've come out and said, we're going to come up with a system so that they're not permanently banned, so that there's an exemption for people that genuinely need them. It's all a load of crap. There's so many rules, so many media releases, so many different nitty-gritty micromanagement on these things, when the root of the problem isn't with the machete, it's with the people that have got their hands on them. The people that steal cars and then get away with it. It's with the people that go to court after stealing a car with a child in it and then get bail. It's with people offending while they're on bail. And now, like I said, people have been using weapons since David attacked Goliath back in the biblical era. They can sharpen sticks. Where I am now, there's trees all around me, there's sticks on the ground. I can sharpen one and stab someone with it. You can't ban sticks because they're everywhere. So I really think it's time the government looked at the root of the problem before taking away our machetes. But I am glad that once all these rules come in, it's looking like I should be able to keep mine. And that suits me fine because I use mine all the time when I'm fishing. There's a lot of places I fish thanks to this that I couldn't get into before. There's one spot that I fish, one of my favourite winter fishing spots. I cleared it years ago with this very machete when I first bought it. And now every now and again I go back in and I just clear it a little bit just to keep it nice and clean. And I can drive up to the creek and I can fish there whenever I want to. You never used to be able to do that, but you can thanks to the machete. If I happen to carry this on a trout stream, which I don't often because it's so long, it's a bit awkward to carry. I do if I know the creek's really overgrown, but for a lot of the places I've got a little smaller machete that I use. But it's got a serrated edge down the back so that I can use this as a saw, and I have done, and I can saw through branches that are 5 or 6 inches round and cut through those branches without too many problems. In my hands, this is a very handy tool. In the hands of criminals, it's a weapon. And I suggest that the government goes after the criminals and not after the tools.